First contact and broken trust. Commander Elena Reyes stood motionless at the observation deck of the UES Pathfinder, humanity's most advanced deep space exploration vessel. The vastness of space stretched before her, a canvas of infinite darkness punctuated by distant stars and the swirling purple nebula they'd been sent to investigate. 20 years of military service had hardened her, but nothing had prepared her for what they'd discovered 3 days ago. "Commander, they're hailing us again," Lieutenant Marcus Chen reported from his communication station. "The Serathi ambassador requests to continue diplomatic discussions." Rice took a deep breath, steeling herself. First contact with an alien civilization. The weight of humanity's future rested on her shoulders, on the decisions she would make in the coming hours. "Put them through, Lieutenant," she ordered, straightening her uniform. The main viewscreen flickered to life, revealing a being that still unsettled her despite their previous communications. The Serathi had iridescent blue-green skin that seemed to shimmer with internal light. Their eyes, 3 of them, were positioned in a triangular formation on a face that appeared almost crystalline in structure. Ambassador Vexler's mouth didn't move when he spoke. Instead, the patterns of light beneath his skin pulsed in rhythm with his words. "Commander Reyes," the translation software converted his harmonic vibrations into English. "The Serathi High Council extends continued greetings. We believe our discussions have been productive." "Ambassador Vexler," Reyes nodded respectfully. "We share that sentiment. My superiors on Earth are eager to formalize our initial agreement." In the 3 days since the Pathfinder had encountered the Serathi exploration fleet, both sides had exchanged basic cultural and historical information. The Serathi claimed to be part of a confederacy of 7 spacefaring species, though they were the dominant power. They possessed technology decades beyond Earth's capabilities, particularly in the fields of energy manipulation and faster-than-light travel. "We are prepared to welcome a human delegation aboard our command vessel to finalize the treaty," Vexler said, the lights beneath his skin pulsing faster. "Our council is most interested in establishing cultural exchange protocols." Reyes exchanged glances with Dr. Sophia Patel, the ship's xenobiologist and cultural specialist. Something in Patel's expression confirmed Reyes' own unease. "We would be honored," Reyes replied carefully. "I'll prepare a team." 2 hours later, Reyes led a delegation of 5 specialists aboard the Serathi command ship, the Luminous Harmony. The vessel dwarfed the Pathfinder, its interior corridors curved in geometrically perfect spirals that seemed to defy conventional architecture. The atmosphere was breathable, but carried an electric charge that made the human skin tingle. Ambassador Vexler guided them to a conference chamber where 4 other Serathi officials waited. The room's walls displayed shifting holographic images of what appeared to be Serathi homeworlds, crystalline cities built into mountain ranges, vast oceans of violet liquid, and strange geometric structures floating in the skies. "Before we proceed with treaty discussions," Vexler began after formal introductions, "we wish to understand more about human reproduction and development cycles. Our preliminary data analysis shows unusual patterns compared to other species we've encountered." Dr. Patel stepped forward. "Our species reproduces sexually, with a gestation period of approximately 9 Earth months. Human children require extensive care for many years before reaching physical maturity." One of the Serathi officials, introduced as Chief Scientist Caravel, leaned forward. "We find it particularly fascinating that humans invest such significant resources in offspring that contribute nothing to society for nearly 2 decades. The inefficiency is remarkable." Reyes felt a chill run down her spine at the cold calculation in Caravel's translated words. "We consider our children precious," she said firmly. "Human societies universally prioritize the protection and nurturing of our young. It's fundamental to our species, even at the cost of adult lives." Vexler asked, his skin pulsing with what might have been curiosity. Without hesitation, Reyes replied, her voice hardening slightly. "There's nothing most humans wouldn't sacrifice to protect a child. Any child, not just their own." The Serathi officials exchanged glances, their skin patterns shifting in what Reyes suspected was their form of silent communication. "Fascinating," Vexlor finally said. "We would value more detailed information about human developmental stages." The meeting continued for several hours, with the Serathi showing particular interest in human biology, social structures, and colony distributions. Reyes found their questions increasingly focused on children, education systems, population demographics, and protective measures for the young. When they finally turned to actual treaty negotiations, Reyes insisted on adding specific language regarding the treatment of human civilians, with particular emphasis on children. The Serathi agreed without hesitation, which only heightened her suspicion. Back aboard the Pathfinder, she immediately called her senior staff to the secure conference room. "Something doesn't feel right," she told them, pacing the length of the room. "Their interest in our children borders on obsession." Dr. Patel nodded vigorously. "I've analyzed their questions and the data they requested. Over 60% related directly or indirectly to human children. That can't be simple scientific curiosity." "What are you suggesting?" asked Commander Jackson, her second in command. Reyes stopped pacing. "I'm not sure yet, but I want all transmissions to and from their ships monitored, and send a priority encrypted message to Earth Command. Include my recommendation for increased security at all colonial outposts, especially those with significant child populations." 3 weeks later, the treaty was signed. The formal ceremony took place on neutral ground, a small uninhabited moon orbiting a gas giant in the system. Both sides pledged peace, cultural exchange, and technological cooperation. The Serathi agreed to share their advanced propulsion technology, while humanity offered access to its extensive biological research. As Ambassador Vexlor and Reyes exchanged the ceremonial treaty documents, she looked him directly in his 3 eyes. "I want to emphasize one point personally, Ambassador. As the treaty explicitly states, humans consider our children sacrosanct. Any harm to them would be considered the gravest possible violation, one that would unite all of humanity against those responsible." Vexlor's skin dimmed momentarily before brightening again. "We understand, Commander. The Serathi have no interest in your offspring beyond scientific observation. Our species values knowledge and efficiency above all else." As the Serathi delegation departed, Chief Science Officer Dr. Patel approached Reyes. "Commander, I've been analyzing their communication patterns. There are encrypted transmissions being sent through subspace that don't match the official diplomatic channels." Reyes frowned. "Can you decrypt them?" "Not completely, but I've isolated fragments. They repeatedly reference specimens, extraction, and New Dawn colony." Reyes felt her blood turn cold. New Dawn was one of humanity's newest and most remote colonies, a primarily agricultural settlement with nearly 40% of its population under the age of 18. "Alert Earth Command immediately," she ordered, "and plot a course for New Dawn. Maximum speed." The Pathfinder was 3 days into its emergency journey when the distress signal reached them. New Dawn colony was under attack by unidentified vessels matching Serathi configurations. Reyes ordered every scrap of power diverted to the engines, but she knew they would arrive too late. 17 hours later, they entered the New Dawn system. The planet still orbited peacefully around its yellow sun, green continents visible beneath swirling white clouds. But as they approached the colony site, the devastation became clear. Buildings were damaged or destroyed, infrastructure systems offline. "Life signs," Reyes demanded as they established orbit. "Multiple human life signs," reported the sensor officer. "But population count is approximately 300 fewer than colony records indicate." "Any sign of the Serathi vessels?" "Negative, Commander. They're gone." Reyes led the first landing party herself. They materialized in the colony's central plaza to find shell-shocked survivors moving through the rubble. A woman in a torn colony administrator's uniform approached them. "Administrator Chen." The woman introduced herself, voice hollow with shock. "Thank God you've come." "What happened?" Rise asked, though she already suspected the answer. Chen's eyes filled with tears. They took our children. All of them. Every child under 16. They just took them. Some parents tried to fight back. She gestured to the rows of covered bodies near the medical center. Reyes felt rage building inside her, cold and focused. Did they say why? One of them, their leader, I think, said they were collecting specimens for essential research. That human development was uniquely inefficient, but might hold evolutionary advantages they'd wanted to study. Chen's voice broke. They used some kind of stasis field. We couldn't move, couldn't protect them. Reyes put a hand on the woman's shoulder, her mind already calculating the next steps. This wasn't just an attack. It was a declaration of war. We'll get them back, she promised, her voice iron. Every single one of them. As night fell on the devastated colony, Reyes stood alone on a hillside overlooking the settlement. She activated her secure communication device, connecting directly to Earth Command. "This is Commander Reyes," she said, her voice steady despite the rage burning inside her. "The Serathi have violated the treaty in the worst possible way. They've abducted approximately 300 children from Hudon Colony." There was silence on the other end for a long moment before Fleet Admiral Ishida responded. "Understood, Commander. Return to Earth immediately for briefing. The full resources of the United Earth Defense Force are being mobilized." "Sir," Reyes acknowledged. "The Serathi should have heeded our warning. They hurt our children. Now they'll face the wrath we promised." As she looked up at the stars, Reyes knew that the galaxy was about to learn a fundamental truth about humanity. We protect our young at all costs, and we make good on our promises. The Serathi had made a catastrophic miscalculation, and humanity was about to show them just how terrible a mistake it had been. Humanity Unleash. The UES Retribution dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Serathi home system, its massive hull gleaming against the backdrop of unfamiliar stars. It wasn't alone. 27 warships of the United Earth Defense Force formed up in battle formation behind it, the largest fleet humanity had ever assembled. At the helm of the Retribution stood Commander Elena Reyes, her face carved from stone, as she surveyed the tactical display. "All ships reporting ready, Commander," announced Captain Wei, her new executive officer. "Stealth systems functioning at optimal capacity. The Serathi have no idea we're here." In the 6 weeks since the attack on New Dawn Colony, humanity had undergone a transformation. Political differences had evaporated overnight. Resources poured into military research and development. Engineers worked around the clock to reverse engineer Serathi technology from the limited data gathered during their brief contact. The result was a fleet armed with weapons and defenses that would have been inconceivable just months earlier. "Begin Phase 1, Reyes ordered, her voice calm despite the storm raging inside her. Intelligence gathered from captured communication relays had revealed that the abducted children were being held in a research facility on Kyrlat, the third moon of the Serathi homeworld. Accessing the facility would require precision, stealth, and timing, all before the main fleet revealed itself for the final confrontation. "Infiltration team is away," reported Lieutenant Commander Diaz from Tactical. "Ghost shuttles performing as expected. Serathi sensors show no sign of detection." Reyes nodded. She had personally selected the 12 operators for this mission, Earth's most elite special forces soldiers augmented with cutting-edge technology. She watched on the tactical display as 3 unmarked craft slipped silently toward the moon's surface, invisible to conventional sensors. Colonel Maya Santos led the infiltration team. A veteran of 3 colonial conflicts, she had lost her own niece in the New Dawn attack. Her voice came through the secure channel, tight with controlled emotion. "Touchdown achieved. Moving to facility perimeter. No resistance encountered." Reyes watched the feed from Santos' helmet camera as the team approached a massive structure carved into the side of a mountain. Crystalline towers rose from its surface, pulsing with the same bioluminescent patterns characteristic of Serathi technology. Perimeter guards neutralized. Santos reported 15 minutes later. Non-lethal methods confirmed effective against Cerethi physiology. Proceeding to central access point. Remember, Colonel, Reyes reminded her, primary objective is recovery of all human children. Secondary objective is data acquisition regarding Cerethi research. Lethal force authorized only when necessary for mission success or protection of the captives. Understood, Commander. We're in. The team moved through the facility with practiced efficiency. The Cerethi, confident in their superior technology and remote location, had minimal internal security. Santos' team encountered only light resistance, easily overcome with their specialized weapons, designed to disrupt Cerethi neural patterns without permanent damage. Commander, Santos' voice came through an hour later, now shaking with barely contained rage. You need to see this. The video feed showed a vast chamber filled with transparent containment units. Inside each was a human child, suspended in some kind of viscous liquid, connected to monitoring devices. Some appeared unconscious, others awake and clearly terrified. Life signs, Reyes asked, her knuckles white as she gripped the command console. All 312 children from New Dawn are accounted for, responded the team's medical specialist. Vital signs stable but showing signs of stress and trauma. Some evidence of experimental procedures. Another feed showed Cerethi scientists working at control stations, apparently oblivious to the human infiltration team. Santos zoomed in on holographic displays showing detailed cellular analysis of human tissue, along with comparative data. They're studying how human children adapt to trauma. The medical specialist concluded after scanning the data. Testing resilience limits, adaptive capabilities, neurological responses to fear and stress. Reyes felt something break inside her, the last restraint on the cold fury that had driven her since New Dawn. Secure the children and all research data, she ordered. Prepare for immediate extraction. Phase 2 begins now. She turned to Captain Wei. Bring the fleet to combat readiness. Inform all ships. Operation Righteous Fury is now active. Throughout the Cerethi facility, alarm sirens began to wail as the infiltration team systematically disabled security systems and secured the central research lab. Colonel Santos personally confronted the chief researcher, a Cerethi official she recognized from briefings as Science Director Kerval. What are you doing? The Cerethi demanded, his skin flashing patterns of agitation. These specimens are critical to our research. Specimens, Santos growled, pressing her weapon against the alien's crystalline chest. Those are our children, and you were warned what would happen if you harmed them. On the Retribution's bridge, Reyes opened a channel to the entire fleet. All ships, this is Commander Reyes. The recovery team has confirmed our worst fears. 312 children from New Dawn are being held and experimented upon. Phase 2 is authorized. May God have mercy on the Cerethi, because we will not. The Earth fleet decloaked simultaneously, appearing as if from nowhere in high orbit around the Cerethi homeworld. Before the stunned alien defense forces could react, precision strikes disabled their orbital weapons platforms and communication relays. Broadcasting on all Cerethi frequencies, announced Lieutenant Chen. Reyes stepped forward, her face appearing on view screens across the Cerethi world. This is Commander Elena Reyes of the United Earth Defense Force. Your government has committed an act of war against humanity by abducting our children and subjecting them to cruel experimentation. We are here to reclaim our young and ensure this atrocity is never repeated. She paused, letting her next words land with the weight they deserved. You were warned. You were told explicitly that harm to our children would unite all of humanity against you. That warning was not hyperbole or diplomatic posturing. It was a promise, one we are here to fulfill. The Cerethi response came minutes later as their defense fleet scrambled from the surface and nearby moons. Sleek crystalline vessels, beautiful in their alien geometry, arranged themselves in defensive formation. Incoming transmission from the Cerethi High Council, reported Chen. The main view screen displayed a Serathi official whose skin patterns indicated high rank. Commander Reyes, this is High Counselor XR. There has been a misunderstanding. The human specimens were acquired for beneficial research purposes. We meant no harm. No harm. Reyes's voice cut like a blade. Your forces attacked a peaceful colony. You murdered those who tried to protect their children. You subjected innocent children to experiments designed to test their pain thresholds and fear responses. There is no misunderstanding, Counselor. Only violation of our most sacred principle. She leaned forward. Your ships will stand down immediately. You will recall all vessels to their docking stations. You will provide safe passage for our recovery team and the children they've rescued. Failure to comply within the next 5 minutes will be considered a continuation of hostilities. The bridge fell silent as they waited. On the tactical display, the Serathi vessels remained in combat formation. They're charging weapons, reported Commander Dias. Energy signatures indicate preparation for coordinated attack. Reyes nodded, having expected this. They still don't understand what they've awakened. All ships, execute combat pattern Delta. Target weapons and propulsion systems only. Minimal casualties. What followed was not the battle the Serathi expected. They had studied human technology during their initial contact and believed their defensive systems far superior. What they encountered instead was a humanity transformed by righteous fury, driven to protect its young by any means necessary. Earth vessels moved with unprecedented coordination, employing weapons and countermeasures that hadn't existed weeks earlier. Scientists and engineers had worked around the clock, driven by the knowledge that children were suffering. Theoretical technologies had been rushed into production. Ethical constraints on military research had been temporarily suspended in the face of this existential threat. The Serathi fleet found their crystalline shields penetrated by phase-shifted energy weapons specifically calibrated to their molecular frequency. Their neural-linked targeting systems were disrupted by precisely modulated electromagnetic pulses. Within 17 minutes, half their vessels drifted powerless, their crews disoriented, but largely unharmed. Recovery team reports extraction complete, announced Captain Wei, unable to keep the triumph from her voice. All children secured aboard medical transport vessels. Departure from Karalat successful. On the main view screen, the remaining Serathi vessels began a strategic retreat toward their homeworld's atmosphere. High Counselor Zexar's face appeared again, his skin patterns now pulsing with what their xenobiologists had identified as fear. Commander Reyes, he began, his translated voice trembling slightly. We surrender. Please cease your attack. We had no understanding of human attachment to offspring. In our species, young are produced in vast numbers with minimal resource investment. We did not comprehend. That's the problem. Counselor, Reyes interrupted. You didn't try to understand. You were told explicitly that harming our children would bring consequences, yet you proceeded anyway. Now you will listen carefully to our terms. The terms of surrender were non-negotiable. The Serathi would relinquish all research data on humans. They would pay reparations to the families of New Dawn. They would submit to monitoring by an interspecies council to prevent future violations. Most importantly, they would send representatives to Earth to learn about human culture and values, to understand what they had failed to grasp about humanity's relationship with its children. As the medical transport ships rendezvoused with the Retribution, Reyes made her way to the main medical bay. The sight that greeted her brought tears to her eyes for the first time since this ordeal began. Hundreds of children, now awake and free from their containment units, were being tended to by medical staff. Many were crying, others silent with shock, but all were alive. A small girl, no more than 7 years old, sat wrapped in a thermal blanket on one of the beds. She looked up as Reyes approached. Are you the one who came to get us? She asked, her voice small but steady. Reyes knelt beside her. We all came to get you, everyone on Earth. We never stopped looking for you, not for 1 second. The girl nodded, as if this confirmation matched something she had always known. The aliens said humans were weird because we care so much about kids when kids can't do anything useful. Did they? Rise asked gently. I told them they were stupid. The girl said with unexpected fierceness. I said my mom and dad would come for me. I said all the grown-ups would come. I said they'd be sorry. Rise felt her throat tighten. You were right. Later, standing on the observation deck as the fleet set course for Earth, Commander Rise gazed at the Sarathi homeworld receding in the distance. Captain Wade joined her, offering a data tablet. Final report, Commander. All children recovered successfully. Medical prognosis is good for physical recovery, though psychological trauma will require long-term care. Sarathi High Council has signed the surrender document and initial reparation transfers have been confirmed. Rise nodded, still looking at the alien world. Make sure the terms of surrender include this. Every spacefaring species, the Sarathi contact, must be told this story. They must understand what happened when they harmed human children. Wei smiled grimly. They wanted to study human protective instincts. I'd say they got their data. Indeed, Rise agreed. The galaxy should know this fundamental truth about us. We explore in peace. We extend friendship openly. But harm our children, and you will face the full measure of humanity's wrath. That is not a threat or a diplomatic posture. It is simply who we are. As the fleet jumped to faster-than-light speed, carrying its precious cargo of rescued children homeward, a new understanding rippled through the galaxy. Humanity had revealed itself not just as a technological civilization, but as a species bound by unbreakable principles, chief among them the protection of its young. It was a lesson the Sarathi had learned at tremendous cost, and one the rest of the galaxy would not soon forget.